Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's news update. While Israel's President Shimon Peres is set to bring up the issue of clemency for Jonathan Pollard to President Obama before he receives the Medal of Freedom today, Congress is pushing for Pollard's release as well. For the first time in more than a decade, members of Congress from both sides of the aisle have joined forces in asking President Obama to commute the convicted spy's sentence to time served. The bipartisan letter signed by House members Democrat Eliot Engel and Republican Christopher Smith is being circulated at the House of Representatives, hoping to garner as many signatures as possible. The letter says of Pollard, there is no doubt that he has paid a heavy price, and from the standpoint of either punishment or deterrence, we believe he has been imprisoned long enough. Pollard has served 25 years of a life sentence, which he received in 1987 for spying for Israel. Ynet reports that Israel's Police International Crimes Unit has arrested an Eritrean national living in Israel for alleged terror affiliation. Tel Aviv resident Kabari Gabriosis is suspected of raising money among his friends and funneling it to a terror group possibly in Sinai. 2 additional suspects were arrested this evening in Israel, one a resident of Ramla and the second from Beit Surif in the West Bank. The 2 are reportedly connected to Gabriosis and face similar charges. Fatah and Hamas said today that they are close to reaching an agreement on forming a Palestinian national consensus government, which would be led by Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. A member of the Fatah Central Committee, Nabil Shaath, said that the 2 sides had made progress and were very close to reaching an agreement that would ultimately pave the way for holding new elections in the Palestinian territories. Fatah and Hamas delegations have been negotiating in Cairo under the auspices of the Egyptian General Intelligence Service. In perhaps another sign of growing religious tolerance in Israel, Israel's chief Rabbinical Council has ruled that religious law does not prevent women from delivering eulogies at funerals, though the council fell short of endorsing the practice outright and said that where needed, the community rabbi could intervene and make a decision on a case-by-case basis. The ruling came last week in response to a request made by Culture and Sports Minister Limor Livnat, who also serves as head of a Knesset committee on women's activity in the public domain. U.S. Senators Joseph Lieberman and Mark Kirk have written a letter to Secretary of State Hillary Clinton expressing their disappointment with Israel's exclusion from the inaugural meeting of the Global Counterterrorism Forum. Israel had not been invited to the forum, allegedly due to objections by Turkey. In the letter, the senators say to Clinton that there are few countries in the world that have suffered more from terrorism than Israel, and few governments that have more experience combating this threat than that of Israel. Further saying that the forum is supposed to provide an opportunity for national counterterrorism officials to meet their counterparts in other countries and share experiences and expertise, and that Israel could both greatly contribute and benefit from such an exchange. And turning to some primary results for the House and Senate, former U.S. Senator from Virginia and former Virginia Governor George Allen has won the state's Republican primary. Allen, who discovered his Jewish roots only a few years ago, will face Democrat Tim Kaine in November in a run for his old Senate seat. Jewish Democratic Representative from Nevada, Shelley Berkeley, won her primary. Berkeley, who is a strong pro-Israel supporter, will face Republican Dean Heller in November. And a former aide to Jewish Democrat Representative Gabrielle Giffords has won Giffords' seat in a special election. Ron Barber, who himself was wounded in the shooting attack last year that severely injured Giffords, had Giffords' support throughout. She campaigned for him and gave her blessings at his victory rally last night. Giffords resigned her seat earlier this year to recover from the 2011 shooting. And finally, some well-deserved and exciting news for former captive Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit. Israel's Channel 2 revealed today that Shalit, who was held captive for 5 years by the Hamas terror organization, just signed a contract with Israel's daily paper Yediot Aharonot as its new basketball columnist. Shalit, who is a huge basketball fan, flew to the U.S. back in March to see the All-Star game. He is now said to be on assignment in the U.S., again covering the NBA. He'll also cover EuroLeague basketball and local Israeli basketball as well. Shalit's first column is set to appear in this weekend's Yediot Aharonot. This is Shalit's first civilian work since being released from Hamas captivity in October of last year. And that's Shalom TV's news update. I'm Teisha Bader.